Hello friends, welcome to my channel Sushant. Today we are at the next topic, that is the exchange sacrifice. I am starting a new series here and we are going to understand what is an exchange sacrifice, in which circumstances it works nicely. Exchange is when we give up a rook for either a bishop or a knight. So that is an exchange sacrifice. Often we see that it is one of the least material that we can give, because when we give up rook for a knight or rook for a bishop, what we do is the material balance on the board is not disturbed by the head count, okay, but we are giving up a bigger piece for a smaller one. Especially the enemy rook and our minor piece which remains on the board, their activity matters the most. Like we see in this case, if white sacrifices rook f6, all he has to do is not worry about instant checkmate. He would only see whether his knight or the bishop is worth more than the enemy rook which is in the corner. So here the exchange sacrifice may not be tactical in nature. So it may not lead to a forced mate or a forced win. Although in this particular case we see that the black king is very much weak. So I am trying to cover various types of cases where exchange sacrifice is possible for direct tactical or even positional means, for improving activity, making the pieces enter near the enemy king, that is for an attack, or to create passed pawns. These could be the cases when one is willing to sacrifice the exchange. So let's get down with the position here. This position is white to play, and white is, of course, we can see way more developed than black, and white didn't hesitate at all to play the move rook f6 in the game. For a master player, these kind of sacrifices are very natural, and one will not calculate too many variations also, because to be honest, he is not giving much in the position. Let's see after the moves rook f6, gf6, what are the factors which white can say that he already got more while giving the bigger piece for the knight. Firstly, we have shattered the enemy king position. So the king's residence here on h8 we can see has become weak. The h6 pawn is weak, f6 and f7 are double isolated, they are on the open file. The rook behind is becoming active, it attacks the f6 square. Here white can win in whichever way he wants. He can go qh4, he can go knight d5, both are very good. But in the game, white preferred queen h3. The simple point is that to king h7, he wanted to use queen f5 check in order to gain the tempo. So here we can see that already black is in serious trouble. After king h8, white can improve the queen position to h5, and after king g7, once the queen is on h5, the rook slowly joins the attack and the position is winning. White could also play nd5, which is also winning in this case. Now problems are immense. Rook cannot leave because of queen f7 check, and rook g3 check is already very dangerous. Let's say after qd7, trying to protect the f6 square in some cases, after rook g3 check, king h7, knight d5. We see the flow of white's pieces, everyone is transferring to the king side, and we note that black's two pieces a8 and c6, they are not there in the defense at all. Even if there is no mate in these kind of positions, we can make out the rook is worse than either the knight or the bishop, any one of them. So that itself is enough to understand that this exchange sac should work. And here it's almost game over. Only move queen e6, stopping queen f6 check, and here white can again win at his will. Knight c7, forcing the queen back to d7, again knight d5, again queen e6 and knight b6, snatching the queen's place on the diagonal, and then transferring the rook to h3 wins. In the game, white went rook h3 directly, to which we see that no defense to queen h6. So queen into h3 has to be given up and it's game over. As we can see, after f5, queen into f5, now queen has no place to control the h6 square. So black had to play queen h3, and then again queen f5 check. So after rook g8, queen f5 check, king h8, knight f6, rook g6 allows bf7, so rook g7 forced, and now we see after queen h5 it's game over. White is winning in many ways in this position. And after the variation like queen h3, king h7, queen f5 check, here king g7 directly allows nd5. The knight heads to f6, and after knight d5, queen c8, queen f6 check leads to a winning position. King h8, queen h5, king h7. This time the f7 square is undefended and we just get bf7, which leads to a instant winning position for white. White can also consider the very strong nd5 here. One sample variation would be bishop f7 when black is almost compelled to play rook g8, because the threat is queen g6 followed by queen h6 mate, and after rook f7, queen f7, king h8, the move rook f6 leads to forced win. So here it's game over. Only move rook g8, and after bg8 check, kg8, then qg6 check, king f8, rook f6 wins. If king h8, then rook f6 or queen h6, both lead to win. Thus qg8 is forced, and when after rook f6 or the very strong nd5, it's game over. Maybe only move qg5 when white can win in several ways. He has rook f7 check, king g8, queen g5, hg, rook c7. The rook dominates the board. Material, that exchange is regained and white is having two extra pawns. Or else he can go with queen f7, qg7, qe6, threatening queen f5 also and rook f7 also, when again white wins. As we can say, in this position the move rook f6 exchange was not a risky sacrifice. It was merely a defender which was destroyed on f6, and we saw that the remaining minor piece versus the opponent's rook, that played a major role where our piece was very strong. I hope you are finding these lessons useful. Do like, share and subscribe the channel. Thanks for your time.